जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। प्रभुपाद की जय हो। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन, यमुना तीर वनचारी, यमुना तीर वनचारी, यमुना तीर वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय हो। Today I am going to do शुद्ध भगत चरण रेणु by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, एकादशी कीर्तन। शुद्ध भगत चरण रेणु भजनानुकूल, भगत सेवा परम सिद्धि प्रेमलतिकार मूल, माधवती थी भक्ति जननी जतने पालन करी, कृष्ण वसती बली परम आदर वारी, गौर मारा सब स्थाने करलो ब्राह्मण रांगे, से सब स्थान हेरिबो आमी प्रणयी भकत संगे, मृदंग वाद्य सुनिते मन अवसर सदयाचे, गौरविहित कीर्तन सुनी आनंद हृदय नाचे, जुगल मूर्ति देखिया मोर परम आनंद होय, प्रसाद सेवा करिते होय सकल प्रपंच जय, जे दिन गृहे भजन देखी गृहे ते गोलोक भाय, चरण सिधु देखिया गंगा सुख नासिमा पाया, तुलसी देखी जुड़ाय प्राण माधव तोषणी जानी, गौर प्रिय शाक सेवने जीवन सार्थक मानी, भक्ति विनोद कृष्ण भजने अनुकूल पायता, प्रति दिवसे परम सुखे સ્વીકાર કરીએ તા શુદ્ધ ભક્ત ચરણ રેણુ ભજન અનુકૂલ ભક્ત સેવા પરમ સિદ્ધિ પ્રેમ લતિકાર મૂલ પ્રેમ લતિકાર મૂલ. જય ભક્તિ વિનોદ ઠાकुर की जय हो. ऐसे हमारे क्लास में आज पुरुषोत्तम मास का लास्ट डे है, क्योंकि 16 को खत्म होने वाला है पुरुषोत्तम मास. तो आज मैं 15वां अध्याय करने वाली हूँ. उसके बाद विष्णु स्तुति करूंगी. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय हो. पंचदशो अध्याय पुरुषोत्तम योग. श्री भगवानुवाच ऊर्ध्वमूलमथ शाखम् अश्वस्थं प्राहुरव्ययम् छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि यस्तं वेद स वेदवित् अधस्वोऽथ प्रसुताश शाखा गुण प्रवृद्धा विषय प्रबाला अधश्वमूलानि सन्ततानि कर्मानुबन्धीनि मनुष्यलोके न रूपमयस्य तथोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चार्दी न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूल मसङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा तदपदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यं यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूय तमेव चात्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यत प्रवृत्ति प्रसुता पुराणी निर्माणमोहाजितसङ्गदोषा अध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृत्तकामः सौन्दैर्विमुक्ता सुखदुःखसङ्गै गच्छन्ति मूढा पदमं व्ययं तत् न तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावक यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूत सनातनः मनसष्ठानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृते स्थानि कर्षति शरीरं यत्नवाप्नोति यच्चापृत्क्रामतीश्वरः गृहीतैतानि संयाति वायुर्गन्धा विनाशयात् श्रोत्रं चक्षुस्पर्शनं च रसनं घ्राणमेव च अधिष्ठाय मनस्वाय विषयानुपसेवते उत्क्रामतं स्थितं वापि भुवञ्जानाभागुणावितं विमूढानानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः यतन्तो योगेनेश्वेनं पश्यन्तात्परवस्थितं यतन्तोऽप्यकृतात्मानो नैनं पश्यन्त चेतस यदादित्यगतं तेजो जगद्रासयतेऽखिलं यच्च चन्द्रमसि यच्च गानो तत्तेजो विद्धि मामक कामावेश्य च भूतानि धारयाम्यहमोजसा उष्णामि चौषधी सर्वो सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिना देहमाश्रित प्राणापानसमायुक्तः पचाम्यन्नं चतुर्विध सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तः स्मृतिज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदेषु सर्वेदामेव वेदो वेदान् कृते देव विदेव चाहम् द्राविमो पुरुषो लोके क्षरसाक्षर एव च क्षर सर्वाणि भूतानि कुटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्तव्यः परमात्मेति उदाहुत यो लोकत्रयमाविष्ट विपर्यव्यय ईश्वरः यस्मात्तक्षरमतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तमम् अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथितः पुरुषोत्तमः यो मामेवमसमूढो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमं स सर्वविदितति मां सर्वभावेन भारत इति गृह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदं मुक्तं मया नघ एतत् बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमानस्य कृतकृतश्च भारतः. ओम तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषदसु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्ण अर्जुन संवादे पुरुषोत्तमयोग नाम पंचदशोऽध्यायः. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय हो। श्रीमद् श्री पुरुषोत्तम मास की जय हो। नाउ आई एम डूइंग विष्णु स्तुति। शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णु शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। शान्ताकारं भुजगशयनं पद्मनाभं सुरेशं विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशं मेघवर्णं शुभांगं लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगविध्यानगम्यं वन्दे विष्णु भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथं। वन्दे विष्णु भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथम्। औषधे चिन्तये विष्णुं भोजने च जनार्दनं शयने पद्मनाभं च विवाहे च प्रजापतिं युद्धे चक्रधरं देवं प्रवासे च त्रिविक्रमं नारायणं तनुत्यागे श्रीधरं प्रियसङ्गमे दुःस्वप्ने स्मर गोविन्दं संकटे मधुसूदनं कानने नारसिंहं च पावके जलशायनं जलमध्ये वराहं च पर्वते रघुनन्दनं गमने वामनं चैव सर्वकार्येषु माधवं षोडशैतानि नामानि रात्ररुत्थाय य पठेत् सर्वपाप विनिर्मुक्तो विष्णुलोके महीयते। सर्वपाप विनिर्मुक्तो विष्णुलोके महीयते। शान्ताकारं भुजगशयनं पद्मनाभं सुरेशं विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशं मेघवर्णं शुभांगं लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगविध्यानगम्यं वन्दे विष्णु भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथं। वन्दे विष्णु भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथं। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय हो। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी फॉर सो वंडरफुल सेवा। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, Raksha Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Shri Prabhupada. Welcome back. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakavitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Prabhupada Shri Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Guru Gauratishe Namam. O most beneficent incarnation, you are Krishna himself, appearing as Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden complexion of Srimati Radharani, and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer respectful obeisance unto you. Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Su Medasaha. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Shri Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, weapons, confidential companions. नानाशास्त्रविचारणैकनिपुणौ षड्धर्मसंस्थापकौ लोकानां हितकारिणौ त्रिभुवने मान्यौ शरण्याकरौ राधा कृष्ण पदारविन्द भजना आनन्देन मद्दालिकौ Vande Roop Sanatana Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, namely Shri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizing and studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narom Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. Again, Hare Krishna everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All good Srila Prabhupada. So, first of all, I apologize. Yesterday, I didn't realize my internet was down. So I completed all 30 questions, but apparently I was told question number 21 onwards, you didn't get to hear, and Sharad Prabhu actually had to do something. So what I'll do today, before I begin lesson 12, I will redo question number 21 to 30 again, okay? So whoever is going to recap yesterday's class, they may do so up to question answer number 20, and then we will do lesson 12. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept the humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, yeah, we were seeing that Chandidas and Yadavdas were in conversation with Anantas Babaji. That was covered in lesson 8. Those questions were from 1 to 8, which were about what is the material world, what are the appropriate and the inappropriate endeavors to regain one's original spiritual identity, and how a sadhu living in the material world and other bewildered souls living in material world, how they are different. Now, from question 19 onwards till 30 are covered in lesson 11. So we started off with the 9th question of Yadav Das to Anantas Babaji. he wanted to know the 4 kinds of intelligent persons and what are the different states of existence. So the 4 kinds of intelligent persons are, the first one is at the beginner stage of being intelligent. The second one has a desire to attain liberation. The third one is a liberated person. And the fourth one is the one who has attained the perfection. So the third one, who is liberated, are also of 2 types. One who tastes the nectar of spiritual mellows like the rasas, the vatsalya, dasya, the madhurya rasas. And the second type are the mayavadis, who want to merge into the impersonal form of the Lord. Then the fourth kind, which are the people who have, the souls who have attained perfection, they are also of two types. So the one type are the ones who worship the Lord in awe and reverence, and the other type are the ones who worship the Lord in his feature of sweetness, in his madhurya. But the persons who are in a conditioned state, they are into the illusion of I and mine. So these are the 4 types of intelligent people. Then Yadavdas wanted to know the 2 kinds of devotees. The 2 kinds of devotees are the householder devotee and the one who has renounced who have taken up the renounced order of life. Then question number 11 was, what is the situation of a householder devotee, of a Grahastha Vaishnava in the material world? Now, the Grahastha, normally people, they are attracted towards the 5 senses and they want to experience the world, and that's why they get trapped by Maya. But a householder devotee is not interested in pleasing his senses. Rather, he devotes his life for the objective, that he devotes his life to the holy name, to the service of the Vaishnavas, and he has lots of mercy towards others. Then Yadavdas further wanted to know, how can a Grihastha Vaishnava do pure devotional service without offending the Smarta Brahman? Anandas Babaji answered that only while doing particular rites and rituals like marriage and funeral, one can take the services of the Smartha Brahmanas, but otherwise a householder devotee should continue with his devotional service in as he is prescribed to do. Further, Yadavdas wanted to ask, if the Grahastha Vaishnava is so worshipable, then why do some devotees renounce the householder life? So, most of them are householders, but there are very rare who are qualified to renounce the household life. Further, in question 14, Yadavdas asked, then what makes one qualified to renounce the household life? So normally a person is involved in 2 kinds of activities. One is the external and the other is internal. So if the person who is involved in the internal activities, wherein he goes from his sense organs towards his mind and his mind goes towards the original form of the soul, that time he is qualified to renounce the household life. Further, in question 15, it was asked, what are the symptoms of a person who is qualified to renounce the household life? So these are very important points. The symptoms of such a person are that he does not associate with women. He has a lot of mercy for all souls. He is not interested in accumulating money. He lives need-based, like he does not hanker for more and more. He has a lot of love and devotion for Lord. He has a lot of faith in Lord. He does not associate with worldly people, and he does not criticize and praise them. And he is away from material activities, and he does not care for life and death. So these are the symptoms of a person who can, who are qualified to renounce the household life. Further, in question 16, it was asked that many young men take up renunciation, but then they fall from the path and they associate with women. So are such devotees householders or they are renunciants? So renunciation has nothing to do with one's age. The moment if a person is purified of his past lives and of in this life, then he is qualified to renounce the household life. Further, in question 17, Yadavdas wants to know the genuine renunciation and the artificial renunciation. So genuine renunciation never breaks in any situation. It is very strong. Wherein in the artificial renunciation, there is a propensity of a pride, fame, cheating, and impiety. 18th question is, when a devotee renounces, should he accept the garment of renunciation? So that is basically a genuine renunciant has nothing to do with the material world. He can live anywhere and in any situation, and he is a pure soul. So, but there are some renunciants who accept the signs of renouncing the world, and they wear accordingly. But there are some advanced renunciants who need not wear the garments of a renunciant. Question 19 is, from whom should one accept the garment of renunciant? It should be accepted only from a renunciant and not from a householder. And the last question of yesterday's class, which is 20, what should a spiritual master think at the time of initiation? The spiritual master should make sure that his disciple is qualified and he has control over his minds and senses, and he is engaged in devotional service. He is also, he should see that he is free from association with women and that he has no thirst for money or sumptuous food. This was covered yesterday. Today, Prabhuji will cover from question 21 onwards. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Samatamaji. Very nicely done. Thank you. So before I cover question number 21 to all the way to 30 in this lesson 11, what I've done, I've added this slide, new slide, because what I did, I think this was important, I realized. So here is the slide which depicts and answer the question, what are the 4 kinds of intelligent persons? And what are their different states of existence, and what is their association with the devotees? So I think this schematically putting that might help you understand better, So the 4 classes of intelligent people are the first kind, those who are at the very beginning stage of being intelligent, okay? And the second one, who desire liberation. The third kind, those who are already liberated. And then the 4th kind, those who attain perfection, not only liberation, but go beyond that. And those are the devotees, okay? So those who are the beginning stage of being intelligent, and they should associate with those desiring liberation. That is the recommendation. And the second point, desiring liberation, of course. And the third, who are liberated souls, among them, those who taste the nectar of the spiritual mellows, okay. And the other one, the offender Mayavadis, falsely beginning that they are one with the Supreme. So they don't see any difference between the individual and the absolute truth, which is their offense actually. So basically all other classes, they should avoid associating with such Mayavadis for their own benefit. The 4th kind, those who attain perfection, they are the devotees, and there are 2 classes of devotees. One who worship the Lord in the feature of awe and reverence. So those who are involved actually in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, and those who worship the Lord in his features of sweetness. Actually, those who are in the Raga Marg, they are generally of that kind. And in this, there are 2 kinds of devotees. That the answer to question, the question put forward, what are the 2 kinds? Can you please elaborate? So then the answer is given. One is the Grahasthas or the householder Vaishnavas, and the other ones who are renunciants. Okay. So now we'll go to the question 21 to 30. So here, the question 21, Yadadas is asking, after accepting the order of renunciation, should one build a temple and worship the deity of the Lord? Now, as I told you, this is a shocking to all of us who are seeing the ISKCON sannyasis, okay? But the Babaji Pranali, Babaji tradition is different. And there the answer, Ananda Das Babaji is saying that no, they should not accept the order of renunciation. I mean, they should not build a temple and they shouldn't worship the deity of the Lord. Uh, Here is the reason. He should leave, because what happened when when a person who is renounced, they don't want to call themselves even sannyasi, as I explained multiple times, because they don't want to associate with the varnashram system. So they don't wear Brahman threads, they don't wear typical garments of a sannyasi. Uh, so uh, that's the reason. Uh, and so those who are renunciants, and if they engage in temple construction, so raising the funds, and that is kind of millions of dollars involved, lots of money involved, and they should not get involved, and because that's a possible reason for falling down, getting attracted to money and all the comforts of luxury and everything. So that is the reason he should not enter a situation dealing with material affairs, as will come from the building of the temple. Okay. And he will live, so he should really live in a secluded cottage, very simple living, or in a temple managed by a householder. And he will not do anything that requires money. He should completely stay away from that. And that is not what we observe and among ISKCON sannyasis. In fact, Prabhupada demonstrated by his own example, even though when millions of dollars were involved, big donors were there, Prabhupada was leastly affected. That was the example he showed. And because another reason, some of the typical rules and regulations that he apparently transgressed for a reason, for the higher reason. Higher reason means spreading Krishna consciousness. So when he came to the West, he had to start from everything scratch. So this is the reason that that time no temples were there, nothing like that. Temple means the temple of Sri Radha Krishna. Many Indian temples were there, but you will see a khichdi. All different kinds of demigods are there, and some corner Krishna is there, as if he is one of the demigods. That was the reason. So he decided to construct temples, and that was in fact while he was here, in just 12 years of his time on this planet, he helped build 108 temples throughout the all major cities of the world. So that is the reason why he did that. Okay. uh, uh, but he will not do anything that requires money. So that is uh, because he was not accustomed. I mean, he was not at all attracted. The money and all kind of thing goes luxury associated with that. He was truly renunciation sannyasi. Um, so here the recommendation always be engaged in chanting the holy name. Prabhupada used to chant 64 rounds actually, despite how busy he had been, worldwide movement on worldwide travel, and so many disciples and all these things, writing so many books, all this thing he was doing. So obviously he was an empowered, really empowered personality, and he came, and not because of karmas, but because he came as an entourage to assist the Lord in spreading Krishna consciousness. So you have to understand properly. Okay, and question number 22, Yadav Das is asking, What about the renunciant who build a temple and they live like a householder, uh, because of that connection, okay? So here the answer is that he is a person, uh, he who would eat his own vomit. So that is a no-no situation, okay? But we already know the exception of Srila Prabhupada. You know, the reason why he did that, I already explained to you. Question number 23. Yadav is asking, is he not a Vaishnava? The one who does that? So the answer is, he has become a materialistic if he gets involved in this kind of situation. He breaks the rules of scriptures and the rules of being a Vaishnava. So you see, there are general rules, but every general rule, there is an exception. So Prabhupada made an exception for a higher reason, I explained to you. He was starting Krishna conscious movement in the Western countries, really from a scratch. Nothing was available. So that is why he had to um, uh, bypass so many rules and regulation that are dictated. In fact, he was criticized at the time by his god brothers in India. But ultimately, one's success is measured how successful, because the highest reason is spreading Krishna consciousness, and there is no question about Srila Prabhupada's accomplishment. In just barely 12 years, he established worldwide Krishna conscious movement. That is really amazing. So question number 23, is he not a Vaishnava? That is what he has become, a materialist if you get involved. For ordinary people like that, ordinary renunciations, that is the reason why this rule is mentioned that. But Prabhupada is an exception. Question number 24, if he has not given up chanting the holy names, how can you say he has ceased to be a Vaishnava? So again, those people, they do chant, and yet this question arises that. So the answer is, chanting the holy name and committing offense to the holy name is two different things. So these people who chant, but chanting on the strength, because they commit this kind of offenses, and they chant with the hope that by chanting of the holy name, they would be purified. So that is again one of the 10 nama paradas, on the strength of chanting the holy name and continue committing offenses. All right. So this is now question number 25 to 30, and again I will expand question 25, 26, 28, and then I'll blow up this left portion of it. So question 25 was, how can he be rescued if such thing happens? So here the answer, only when he gives up all his offenses, always chant the holy name, and sheds tears of remorse. He should be repenting like anything, actually, truly repenting, realizing that he has committed an offense. Then he may be counted again among the devotees. Questions 26, 27. May a householder leave the varnashram system? What are the two kinds of householders? So here the Babaji answers, another name for Vaishnava religion is, of course, Jaiva Dharma, the religion for all human beings. Here again, even the outcast who are outside of the four varnas, okay, that is what the outcast. But the outcast also may embrace the Vaishnava religion and live as householders once they start chanting the holy name. For them, then there is no need for varnashram system, following the varnashram system. And among the householders, there are two kinds, those who follow the varnashram and those who don't. Generally, it is recommended those who are householders and those who are not really devotees, those who are not really Vaishnavas, they ought to follow the Varnashram Dharma in order to harmoniously maintain the human society. But those who are devotees, they bypass the need for Varnashram system. So that you need to understand. Question 28. Of these two, which are the best? One who follow the Varnashram system, one who don't. So the answer is he who has more devotion is the best, because he bypassed the need for Varnashram system. Then he is following the Daivi Varnashram system. The other day I followed in great detail. If neither have any devotion, then the follower of Varnashram is better. Just like I told you, just explained. Those who are not devotees and householders, then they should follow the Varnashram system, because then the proper conduct of the human society is maintained. However, from the spiritual point of view, they are both degraded, for neither has devotion. And those holders who are not devotees. Okay. So now the questions 29 and 30. Yadav is saying, is householder devotee allowed to wear the garment of renunciation? Obviously, it is no. Those who are householders, he would be cheating if he wears in public the typical garments of his renunciations. People falsely, because he's not qualified for that. And question 30. Yadav said, do the scriptures describe how one should accept the garment of renunciation? What is a proper injunction, scriptural injunction for that? So here the scriptural injunction says that people of every caste may become Vaishnava. However, none but the only Brahmanas may accept sannyasa. Now, this is a point. There is a qualifying statement for that. Here, when they say only Brahmana who accept Vaishnava, the assumption is here, or presumption is here, that Brahmana is not by birth against the smarta Brahmana Panditas. Okay, those who are too proud of being by birth, they say that unless you take a birth in a Brahmana family, you cannot become sannyasi. But here, Brahmana is by gunas and karmas, exactly what Krishna says, Chaturvanyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha, not by birth. So if he is become a Brahmana by gunas and karmas, and that's exactly when we get in ISKCON, Brahmana thread ceremony is not given unless and until he first purifies by chanting the holy name. First, the Harinam initiation is given. Only after at least a minimum of 1 year, I was given second initiation only after 3 years. So we in ISKCON, we are very, very particular that we develop our Brahminical qualities, typical those 12 qualities, and purify ourselves by chanting the holy name for a minimum of 1 year. Then only we get Brahmana Brahmana thread ceremony, even though he is not by birth a Brahmana. So that is the qualifying statement we need to remember. Okay, so now, so that is what unfortunately, because of the internet issue, I missed. Okay, so now let's take to the lesson 12. So that is today's lesson. I'm sorry, this is what wrong. So let's take a, before I begin lesson 12, let's take a break 5 minutes, and then I will do in straight away, because there are not that many slides in lesson 12. So let's take a break right now. Okay, it's about 30 seconds down. All right. So here is the chapter lesson 12. This is actually from chapter 8, and chapter 8 we'll do in lesson 12 and lesson 13. So today we'll do lesson 12. Next weekend we'll do lesson 13. Okay. Um, so here, and I already mentioned showing you here, it's pages 121 to 132 that we'll do in lesson 12, and then 133 onwards we'll do, that is covered in lesson 13. So that is why chapter 8 we'll do in 2. So this is the title of chapter 8, Nitya Dharma, and so eternal duties of the soul, and the Sanskrit word Vyavahara. Actually, Vyavahara, Gujaratis will know what is Vyavahara. It is a typical ordinary social interactions, how it ought to be conducted. So this is what this chapter is all about, you know. So lesson 12 is actually the introduction of two new, what we will see, we are being introduced. I mean, the two new characters that the author is introducing to us. And the question answer. So there are a total of 34 questions are there in this chapter. The first two questions of 34 that we will do in lesson 12, and the lesson 13 is entirely devoted to question number 3 through 34. Okay, that we'll do it next weekend. So today there are 4 themes, basically in themes in terms of the number of questions. So first, of course, Nityan, as I told you in lesson 12, the first we are being introduced these two new characters. One is this Nityananda Das, and he's a Babaji, but he's a very young person who accepted this Babaji tradition. But it turns out later on, we are being shown that that was too premature. It was for wrong reason. He become a renunciant for the purpose, for the main objective, and that was on a material platform. That was the wrong reason for him, because he wanted to, when he saw the renunciants in the society, they are being highly honored, worshipped, and he wanted that societal recognition. For that purpose he took it, you know. So that was completely wrong reason, you know. So this is the first character is this Nityananda Das Babaji. I will put quote unquote. He's really not a Babaji. At a very young age, too prematurely, he accepted, and then he, as Babaji, Anantadas Babaji. I mean, here it's not Anantadas Babaji. It's a new character. He's also very, very, very senior, Haridas Babaji, and he's close to 100 years actually, and he is a very, very learned personality. About Nityananda Das, this young Vaishnava who was a visitor to this assembly of the great Vaishnavas of Godruma, where of course Premadas Babaji is there, Lahari Mahasaya is there, Vaishnav Das Babaji is there, and this new personality, a very, very elderly personality, just like we heard other day, Anantadas Babaji. So this Haridas Babaji also but he did not live in Pradyumna Kunja. He used to live what it is known as Nityananda Vata. In fact, that's a huge a banyan tree, and in that banyan tree, the devotees had built a stone kind of platform where they can sit. Originally, Lord Nityananda used to sit underneath this tree. That's why it's called Nityananda Bhatta. Sanskrit word Bhatta means banyan tree. So Babaji, so this Nityananda Das Babaji was actually a visitor from a town called Baragachi, and he was visiting this particular assembly of the Vaishnavas. They are gathered together, chanting Hare Krishna, and then discussing scriptures and so on like that. Okay, and Haridas Babaji, as I told you, is a highly learned scholar, just like Vaishnav Das Babaji. And he was almost 100 years old, had personally seen Lord Nityananda right at that time. He was the contemporary of Lord Nityananda, actually. He had seen that, and met Lord Nityananda and received the mercy of Lord Nityananda, and who on rare occasions would go to Pradyumna Kunja. That's where the ashram of Premandas Babaji is located, and where in that in that Kunja, Pradyumna Kunja, Lahiri Mahashay, Vaishnav Das Acharya, Babaji, they were all living there. So Haridas Babaji used to visit very occasionally, on very, very rare occasions, would go to Pradyumna Kunja and then meet Premdas Babaji. So now we will go through this question 1 to 34, and today we will cover only first two questions. The next lesson 13 will cover the rest of the question 3 through 34. It's all devoted to that, and you will learn a lot more. In fact, the whole book, I told you, it's about question and answer format, and we learn the philosophy of this Nitya Dharma versus the temporary Dharma, So what are the two these questions about that? How should a person, the first question is, the question is being asked by Nityananda Das, that the visiting Vaishnava from Baragachi town, he was visiting, and he was greatly, very, very obedient, very following, great obeisances to pay to all the senior Vaishnavas, although he himself was known as Babaji, but as we learn, nowhere really he was qualified to be Babaji, actually. So the question was, he is asking question, and to this assembly, to Premadas Babaji. Premadas Babaji, of course, he declined. So this Haridas Babaji, when he was asked, so Haridas Babaji said, no. Vaishnadas Acharya, Vaishnadas Babaji is more qualified because he directly received the instructions from Premadas Babaji, and very senior, and how he defeated so scholarly the Smartha Brahmana Panditas. So Haridas Babaji kind of suggested Vaishnadas Babaji should really answer the question of this particular visitor. But Vaishnav Babaji, very kind of in a great humility, said, no, you are better qualified than me, because you are the contemporary. You actually met Lord Nityananda, who is the incarnation of Lord Balarama. So you are a lot more qualified than me, and everyone agreed that. So ultimately it came to Haridas Babaji. So who is going to answer all the questions of this particular visitor? And then we get to learn the deeper philosophy of this Nitya Dharma via how there should be the interaction, a societal interaction among the devotees there to watch out. So that from that point of view, these questions are being geared. Okay. So there are 3 points, 3 way Babaji, Haridas Babaji is answering that question. Again, what is the question? How should a person who has taken shelter of the eternal Vaishnava religion uh, in relation to other religions? Very practical. Even that question is relevant to this day and age, because we have so many so-called religions. And in one of the classes we discuss, basically there's only one religion, Vaishnava religion, and that is Vaishnava means we worship, we chant the holy name. Okay, and there's only one supreme personality of Godhead we call Krishna, but Krishna has many names. So other religions, other major religions of the world, they also have the underlying message exactly the same. There's only one personality, one supreme Lord, monotheistic, and worshiping, chanting the holy name. That is the way to worship the Lord. That all Christianity, Islam, all major religions except, of course, the exception is Buddhism. In fact, Buddhism is many people consider as non-theistic religion. They don't accept the concept of the Supreme Lord, nor they do even recognize Vedas. So that's besides the point. So this question is a very practical question. How if one who has taken a shelter of Vaishnava religion, how other religions he could relate to it? That is a question. Okay, and here Haridas Babaji is asking in a 3 segments. Okay, first, everybody is servant of Lord Krishna. That you should recognize. There is a fundamental underlying message of a religion. So everybody should be a servant of Lord Krishna. Of course, another religion, in Christianity is Jehovah. In Islam it is Allah. They are different names. Basically, they are one and the same actually. Regardless of one is aware of it or not. So there are 2 classes of people. By and large, most people are not aware that they are the servant of the Supreme Lord. Okay, only small minority, they say that they are the servant of Krishna. So but there is a verse that is Haridas Babaji quotes that some accept him not or not accept him or not, doesn't matter whether others do not, yet everyone is Lord's servant. Whether you recognize or not, that is immaterial. Only by realization of meeting a sadhu, then one realizes that. Okay, so even one who is not aware is a servant, but constitutively, because he's a spirit soul, and spirit souls are individual spirit souls are meant to serve the Supreme Lord. So that way they are. Sooner or later, the person recognizes that. So that is the verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela. Okay, 6.85. So that is the first point Haridas Babaji is pointing out in order to answer that question. Second point, among the 10 features of religious life, 6 that benefit the performer and the remaining 4 are done for the benefit of others. And what are they? I'll show you in the next slide. Okay. The third point Haridas Babaji is pointing out, there are 3 groups of devotees. In fact, bulk of it is devoted that. And most of you who have taken at least Bhakti Sastri exam, they are probably, I would assume, they must have been quite familiar, the 3 classes of devotees. First, the Kanishta or the neophyte devotee. neophyte. Second class is the madhyama or the intermediate. The third class, the uttamadhikari, or those who are advanced personalities. So we will just see here some general characteristics of these three kinds of devotees. Haridas Babaji is showing here. Okay, so we won't go into too many details, but bulk of this lesson is all about that. And the fourth point, Babaji is saying a Vaishnava relates to these four kinds of persons. And we will see who are those four kinds of persons. And this is actually, this is the point specifically mentioned about the intermediate devotees, the Madhyamadhikaris. Okay. And then what is the question two that we will see? We will go over one by one. Okay. So what are the material qualities of a neophyte, and the intermediate devotees? That is the second question this Nityanandas Babaji is asking. The answer, Babaji actually does not reply, decline to answer, because he considers this question was inappropriate. This is not the kind of question one should be asking that, and we'll see how that is. What are the material qualities, material activities of the neophyte and the intermediate devotees? Because once they are devotee, they shouldn't be engaged in material kind of activities. So Babaji declined that. So okay, we'll go one by one. So this is about the 10 features of the religious life. Among these 6 that are beneficial to the performer himself, and the remaining 4 are actually done for the benefit of others. So what are those 10 features of one who become a religious person, who follow the Vedic injunctions and follow being religious? These are the qualities one cultivates. Okay. One, you have to be patient. Second, so these are the 6 are that benefits the performer himself. One who is religious, automatically, sooner or later, he cultivates these qualities. One is patience, utsaha, nishchaya, dhairya, tat karma pravartanat. You heard the verse. This is from Nectar of Instruction, right? And second is self-control. Third is cleanliness. And then there's a sense control. By the dint of being religious, one gradually develops these qualities. And the fifth is knowledge. Knowledge means not the speculative knowledge, but the knowledge which is according to the Vedic literature, scriptural knowledge. That is what we are talking about. And sixth is wisdom. One becomes wiser when he becomes religious, because he knows higher forms of the knowledge and exposure. Okay, so this 6 automatically helps the performer himself. The other 4 that are actually done for the benefit of others, like again, patience. I think that I'll have to see again why patience is there. Honesty, truthfulness, freedom from anger. Let me check just to make sure that. Yeah, it is definitely repeated again. Patience. There must be a mistake in the printout here. I'll check it later because there are 10 features of religious life. Obviously, it cannot be repeated same. So this must be a printing error here. honesty, truthfulness, freedom from anger. And here, what you see here in the yellow box, to live for 5 days as a devotee of Lord Vishnu is far better than to live for 1,000 kalpas as a person who has no devotion for Lord Keshava. So the idea is to become a devotee of the Lord, lot better. And the other verse that Haridas Babaji is quoting, men who are like dogs, even though a human form is there, but his behavior is like an animal, Uh, uh, and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, the deliverer, who is the deliverer of from evils. So the virtue of being a devotee versus not a devotee, one who is religious, they cultivate these qualities. Right. So now about the features of the three kinds of devotees. The devotees are basically three levels of devotees. So Kanishta Adhikari, the neophyte. Again, I'm assuming most of you are well aware, those at least who have done Bhakti Shastri, they should be well aware of this, But just for the revision, it's good to know. Okay. So Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. What are the major features of these three? So we will go one by one. First, the Kanishta Adhikari. They are also called Prakrita devotees. Prakrita means materialistic, on a material platform. And those Kanishta Adhikaris and neophytes are really not counted among the pure devotees. Pure devotional service, they are not, because they are on a material platform. And how do they differentiate? Because this Kanishta Adhikaris, they do deity worship, of course, but they do not respect and honor the devotees of the Lord. That is the fundamental fault, So here, Srimad Bhagavatam verse from 11th canto, 2nd chapter, text 47, a devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not behave properly toward other devotees or people in general is called a Prakriti Bhakta. Prakrita means this material world. So they are on a material platform. And even when they worship the Lord, is not really the way it should be done, And they are materialistic devotee and is considered to be in the lowest position. Although he stands at the entrance of the house of, so actually, even is better to be a devotee, even a neophyte devotee, okay? Because there is almost like getting an entry into the house of devotion, because then he progresses afterwards by the simple practice and sadhu sangha. So although he stands at the entrance to the devotee house devotional service, his service is not pure devotional service. Why? Because his faith is on material platform. He does not recognize the other devotees, senior devotees. So to convert non-devotees into the devotees is not his power. He cannot convert non-devotees. So he is not proficient enough to spread Krishna consciousness, because he himself is not really a fully Krishna conscious devotee. In fact, that's what he said. He's not a pure devotional service. His devotional service on a material platform. So that is what the Kanishta or the neophyte, just the basic features. Then we'll see about the Madhyama Adhikari. Now, Madhyama Adhikari are intermediate, but they are a lot better, and they are considered as pure devotee of the Lord. So there are following features here. So this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, and we saw that previously also from the definition of the nearest, this particular verse, the devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple, but does not behave properly towards other devotees. So a definition of Kanishta Adhikari is actually quoted in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so all three kinds of devotees, the basic definition is taken from the Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam definition of the intermediate devotee, an intermediate or second class of devotee, which are called Madhyamadhikari. Madhyam in Sanskrit means intermediate. Offers his love to the Supreme. So there are four basic qualities that we will see right here, according to this verse. They develop love. They have love, tremendous love for the Supreme Lord, and is a sincere friend to all the devotees of the Lord, and shows mercy to the ignorant people. And more explanation, what are the so-called ignorant people, that Babaji is making clear about that. And who are innocent, so those ignorant people who are totally innocent and open-minded, who are willing to take up Krishna consciousness. So this Madhyamadhikaris are very, very, yeah, they are very, very compassionate. Whatever they have learned, and they realize the great benefit of being a devotee, a very sincere devotee of the Lord, then they make others also, they preach to others also, and convert as them as devotee. The Madhyamadhikaris are capable of doing that by following their examples. And then this Madhyamadhikari, the fourth feature is that they will avoid associating with those who are not only devotees, they are not, but even they are the offenders of the Lord, those who hate, those who are envious of the Supreme Lord. And again, Maharaj, Babaji is going to clarify all these 4 points, all these 4 features of intermediate devotee. First, they are, when they love the Supreme Lord and they engage in devotional service, which is favorable, just like that famous word, the definition of pure devotee word. The famous, very famous verse, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam Dhan Karmadi Anavritam Anukulayen Krishnano Shilanam Bhaktir Uchyate. So those that kind of perform devotional service, that is favorable to Krishna. So these intermediate devotees, they render devotional service, they are favorable for the love of God, Sri Krishna. Second point, they are friendly to the devotees. Those are already devotees, he is very, very friendly. And that friendly means devotees who are surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The third point, that here Babaji, he just expands, he explains fully when he says he is compassionate toward those who are innocent. Okay, what do you mean by innocence? Innocent means, in general, there are several features for that, who do not understand the spiritual truth, genuinely do not understand, but they are eager to learn. Okay, who are open-minded and who are confused, bewildered by hearing opposing arguments from in the society. So they are totally confused about that, bewildered, and they want to learn what is the truth, you know, and obviously because of the foolishness also is there. D, who have many misconceptions because of that, not being able to understand what is meant by that, you know, and who have faith in karma kanda, rituals of the Vedas, and also various non-devotional philosophies, because they hear on, like the today's internet, all kind of things, philosophies there on the internet. So when they hear, they get confused. What is where the truth is there, you know, but they are open to learn the truth. They are willing to learn the truth. Those are the people this Madhyamadhikari actually helps. So Madhyamadhikaris are really very good preachers. Unlike the Uttamadhikaris. Uttamadhikaris are different, we'll see in a moment. And fifth point, that deity worship but material. So they do deity worship, they follow others, but really with the object is some kind of material benefits they will do, otherwise they won't. So those are the people to give the right kind of knowledge, right kind of philosophy, and help remove their misconceptions, doubts, misgivings. That is our intermediate devotees' help. The fourth point is that intermediate devotees, they ignore or avoid associating with hateful persons. What do you mean hateful persons? So Babaji actually clarifies that. Hateful person means they do not believe in the existence. First of all, they don't believe that God exists. Okay. Second, their belief is that the living entity himself, they believe. So like the atheistic, they don't believe in God. And second point, they believing that the living entity himself has created God. Is the humans have created the notion that there is a God, but they don't believe that. And they do not believe in God as if there is a God, he does not have any form. Okay. So these are atheist or agnostic. Among those, agnostic means there is some supreme entity is there, but they have no clear conception about what that supreme. They do not believe that the individual soul are eternally subordinate to God, because they themselves don't first accept the existence of God. How could they believe the souls are eternally subordinate to God? Obviously, that question doesn't arise in them. And they are totally merciless because they don't believe in God or being religious. So they commit so many offenses. They have no compassion for fellow beings. So these are the major characteristics, qualities, and four qualities that we just mentioned about his Madhyamadhikari. Now let's take a look at the Uttamadhikari. Now Uttamadhikari is discussed very briefly, but we are going to learn the questions, answer more questions. We will learn that more. So Uttamadhikari, who are very, very advanced, the most advanced, so this is again the definition given in Bhagavatam. The most advanced devotees sees within everything and everyone, everybody, the soul of all souls. Krishna, the supreme soul, the super soul. So they see the presence of the Lord in everyone's heart. So to a Uttamadhikari, everybody is same, the supreme person of God is Shri Krishna. Consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. So they see not only humans, but in animals, with every living entity, they see a super soul residing within them. So he has compassion for everyone, every living entity, regardless of human beings or not, even animals. They would not kill like that, even the insects and things like that. Consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. Lord is in everyone's heart, and everything else, entire material world, material universe, is situated in Krishna. So both at the macro level and micro level. That is by definition God is, Otherwise it is logically one cannot accept that situation. How could that one who is in everyone's in atomic size, every human being, every living entity, how could the whole entire universe resides in that? Even in the atom, the Supreme Lord resides as a super soul. So this is by definition, that is the God. And the Uttamadhikaris do not think that some persons are Vaishnava and others are not, because he says within everyone Shri Krishna. So for for him. So that's why Uttamadhikari, um, what acharyas say, that the best preachers of Krishna consciousness is actually the intermediate devotees, those who are very good in preaching. But Uttamadhikari, because he sees no difference between different beings, so sometimes Uttamadhikari, they come to the lower level to preach. So that's what this lesson 12 is all about. And lesson 13, as you see, the question 3 through 34, that is the major portion. And that's the most important lesson that I hope everybody will be there next weekend. Hare Krishna. So it's open for discussion now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavata Pranam,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Thank you so
Dandavata
much,
Pranam.
Prabhu. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Prabhu, as always. Yes, yesterday was a bit
Thank you. Yeah.
It's always happened, Prabhu, because I
I
felt
didn't
that
realize the internet was
no,
gone,
I thought that man-made technology is never complete, so it's always incomplete.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. You're right.
So that's what, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have a question that, when you
Yes,
explain
please.
this, Uttama Bhakta, Madhyama Bhakta,
Yeah.
and Kanishta Bhakta,
Yeah.
I did, as I just about to finish my Bhakti Shastri soon.
Yeah.
I think you also explained in the Madhurya Kadambani. I missed that point.
Yeah.
Even this
Yeah.
Madhyama Varga devotees are able to give the Krishna Bhakti or Bhakti to the others, not a Uttama
Yeah.
Bhakta, because Uttama Bhakta not able to discriminate who is what. But a Madhyama
Exactly.
Bhakta has the capacity to discriminate, yes, this is okay, this is not okay, all the stuffs. So even though Uttama Bhakta, he has to come down to the Madhyama Bhakta to give the Krishna Prema or Bhakti to the others. Is that correct, bro? How we can understand this one? Could you please?
That is exactly what I said just now,
Yes, yes,
when I did my Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, that is what our acharyas were explaining to me. That's lessons I took in Vrindavan and Mayapur. Because Uttamadhikari, he sees everyone great because he sees Krishna in them. So he does not recognize. So to preach, many Uttamadhikari were the top, they have to, a few notches down, they have to come down to preach. So that's why best is intermediate level of devotees, they are the best. In fact, I was introduced to Krishna consciousness by such an intermediate devotee, actually, And we will learn in lesson 13 much more details, but this is just an introductory. So for most of you, almost all of you, this is probably just a broad overview of the 3 classes of devotees.
Yes, bro. Thank you so much, bro. Hare Krishna, bro.
Thank you very much. Yes. Radha, sorry. Radha Vinod Prabhu. Haribol.
So it's a nice, conclusion that in renunciate and sannyasi should not build a temple. And your
this again is a Babaji. This is shocking, right?
It's
but
shocking.
You have to understand. Yeah. You have to understand why it is not, because sannyasis, if they get involved in this money affairs and thousands of millions of dollars, it's easily one can fall down. That is the reason why Babaji traditions, they don't recommend that. But here in our ISKCON, Prabhupada set an example, true good example, best example, that Prabhupada was not at all affected. But it happens when too much material involved. And here also we heard that this renunciants, they must live very, very simple life in simple cottage, secluded cottage. Here we sometimes hear that they are given in a first-class hotel and they travel first class. People who are not, they're easy victim, they can fall down that platform. Those who are not truly.
Okay, so I like
that. So you have to understand from both point of view.
Correct.
Both of them are right. but you have to understand the reason behind that.
Yeah, but Prabhuji, you mentioned very clearly because it was the need of the Srila Prabhupada to initiate because nothing existed. So my
Exactly,
mind
that
goes
was
to
the main reason.
because-
Prabhupada had
because-
to
correct.
do
All
that.
the temples you mentioned, because I'm in India, I'm trying to see that, Hanumanji temple, and at the back end, there will be Krishna and, those.
Some
those
corner,
kind
some
of-
Krishna will be some corner, as
some
if like
corner.
he's one of the
In
demigods.
one beautiful
Typical Indian temple,
and-
typical Indian temple is like that because they want to appeal to all classes of people, they
Correct.
want to attract. That's the reason.
Exactly. We see in USA, I see in Toronto and all the places, all gods will be in the one place.
Yeah.
That is the.
So
to show
Prabhupada wanted to
different-
show
Correct.
that
So
the
he
true
did-
position of Krishna.
Yeah, but Prabhuji, what happens? I don't want to get into the offensive, but when money comes, current ISKCON also. I'm not opening up. People criticize people why you need 80,000 rupees cell phone for a devotee who is working in ISKCON. So again, what those Babaji says to me, I'm sure I'm not on the right. Money can spoil the
Exactly.
consciousness.
That's there's a very danger.
Happen. Yeah,
That can be an allurement.
Is allurement, and that is the one of the reason who are who left everything and come into Krishna consciousness, but still want to have 80,000 rupees cell phone. It's not my word. The sentence is one of the great devotee who is teaching us Bhakti Vaibhav. So I know. So it's a very difficult. It's I say our Guru Maharaj Gopal Krishna, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami. He built so many temples. You also mentioned travels in first class and all that. So very difficult for someone to be not attached with money and attach money, but and handle the money. But the philosophical point of that, I personally believe, is not wrong. What he is saying that the sannyasi should not handle money. That's my thinking.
Exactly.
Prabhuji.
That's the main reason. That's the main reason. And now, of course, those who are the caliber of Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, our Guru Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj, all they are totally unaffected by that. Even though they may be traveling first because of the health reason and all these things.
Yeah.
That's a different situation. But everyone is given that kind of luxurious facilities.
Yeah.
A lesser being could easily fall down, and that actually happened. ISKCON in the beginning period, so many sannyasis, they become gurus, so many disciples, and they fell down. That is because of this reason. These Babaji traditions have given, and there's a scriptural foundation for that, But
Correct.
Prabhupada exception was that at that time situation was very unique situation. He established Krishna consciousness throughout the world completely from a scratch. Okay, that is why he had to do a lot of things. He had to train people.
Yeah.
That was the reason. That's why many times he initiated people, very young people, into sannyas order, and some of them later did fall down. They were not qualified, But Prabhupada had no option. He had to do that. And remember, he was in mid-70s by the time Prabhupada left this planet. I believe it in 77, like that, at that,
Yeah.
So
Prabhuji,
that was a
the
unique
word-
situation.
Correct. So the philosophy is correct. Exception is the better word, as you are used a couple of times. That is the correct.
Every general rule, there's an
criteria to
exception.
describe. Yes.
Every
Prabhuji.
general rule, there's an exception.
Yes.
So
Thank
you have to understand the situation in its context, proper context. Okay. Nobody's right and nobody's wrong in that. Everybody's right, but you have to understand the proper context. So what these Babaji traditions are very, very strict about that. They strictly follow that.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Any other points?
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Pranam, Prabhu. Wonderful session, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. So I have
Prasad,
one question, Prabhu. There were some points which you have mentioned, one, patience and various other things, Prabhu. In that, the last point, I think, but one is on anger, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Getting away from anger.
The anger management. When you become a devotee, now you have to understand properly the anger also.
Yeah.
When you read Prabhupada Lilamrita, Prabhupada used to get angry with,
Yes.
with his disciples, but
Yes.
that anger is different. Okay, teachers, spiritual masters, they have to be strict with the disciples for proper training. So sometimes we call Vaishnava Aparadh, they are immune from that. So you have to understand properly because of that. So oh yeah, go ahead, finish the point. What you're saying?
Yes, Prabhu. From our side, it is becoming very difficult, Prabhu. Okay, sometimes. Okay, getting angry. But on what, Prabhupada Leelamrutam and Bhagavatam said, like you should get only angry um, on Vaishnava Aparadas, like who was doing Vaishnava Aparadas. You can, or anybody is blaspheming Vaishnavas or God Krishna. But how do you manage it, Prabhu? Maybe we just need some pointers from you, Prabhu.
Anger management. In this world, there are a lot of courses are there for anger management. All this
I
thing.
don't see
But
that
being a
benefit.
devotee
Yeah.
is naturally, you cultivate this quality naturally. Many of these qualities, giving up the drugs, alcohol, everything, very difficult for ordinary people. But when you become a devotee, see this Prabhupada, when he and these Western people, many of them they're womenizers, drugs, and all these things. From there, they become a pure Vaishnavas. So that is the power of devotional service and the power of such sadhus, such spiritual masters. Both counts. So you have to recognize that. Otherwise, in normal means it's extremely difficult. Extremely difficult.
Extremely difficult.
But by the dint of devotion, because there the Supreme Lord Himself is involved, that is engaged in that. When you serve the Lord, the humility, first quality that develops is humility. Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 and list some 20 qualities. The topmost being humility, because you recognize we have nothing of our own. Everything is given to us by the Supreme Lord. What credit we can take? How we can take any credit? Intelligence, everything has come from the Lord. But people who are not really devotees, they think that anything and everything I've achieved is because of my own smartness and by my hard work. But when you become a devotee, you realize everything is given to us, nothing of our own. Giving a good class and all this thing is all due to the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Every time, even today, I've been preaching for 25 years. Okay. Every class I conduct, just before the class begins, I pray to the Supreme Lord. Please, Lord, help me to make my students understand. I should be able to explain as clearly as possible. I pray to the Lord, then I conduct the class. Even today also.
Understood. So
Because
humbleness, humility. Okay.
Yes, exactly. When you realize that everything is given to us, then automatically humbleness, humility develops in us. This is the
Okay.
first quality a devotee learns.
Got it. So what you're saying is nutshell is instead of focusing on anger, focus on humility and humbleness, and then think of that supreme, and then automatically anger will go away. That is what you're trying to say. Instead of focusing on just anger, how do I
And the false pride,
False.
that also helps, because being given a good class, everything is all given by the mercy of the Lord.
Got it.
Nothing of our own ability.
Yeah. Beautiful answer.
And you do your part, you study well, master the subject, and still you need the mercy of the Supreme Lord, that you pray for that. Every time you give a class, you pray to the Lord, Lord, please help me. I'm unable to do this thing on my own.
Wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Yeah.
It's really, really
Hare
golden.
Krishna
word.
Prabhuji, one word is there in Bhagavad Gita, Nimit Matra, Prabhuji. We are only Nimit Matra.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
And Lord gives the credit to his devotees. He gives everything, and yet the Lord gives credit to his devotees. He glorifies.
Yes. Very
Okay.
nice word. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Mitra Matra. You should remember this.
Yeah.
Remember which
Yeah.
sloka, Mataji? Which chapter? Nimitta Matra?
Mostly in second or 11th chapter. I will tell you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Haribol. Thank you,
Always,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji, એવું બી છે કે always we have to see the mercy of Lord in each and every action.
Exactly.
So
Because
we should more cultivate humbleness.
if a good speaker, good writer, everything comes from Krishna. Nothing of our own. We have to do our own part, but the success comes only by the mercy of the Lord. You know.
Is 11.33, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
Okay.
Archana Mataji.
Hare
Good
Krishna.
good to see you again. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Thank you, Prabhu.
Mataji, please forgive me if I am committing any offense, okay?
Oh, Krishna. Please
No,
don't say
please,
that.
Mataji.
Who am I?
You are such a very senior devotee. I feel embarrassed
No,
to speak
I'm
like
not a
that, such
senior
a
devotee.
advanced devotees. Yes, you are. I know that. Whatever I heard about you,
Oh
you
my
know.
God. Somebody's
Yeah.
must be somebody else, not me.
No, I've heard very high about you, you know.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanush Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Sanjeev Prabhuji. Hare Bol.
Wonderful class, Prabhuji. So, some takeaway or reflection, like then what you were teaching about the Acharya, gave the example of Srila Prabhupada, like being a sannyasi, then so many generic restrictions are there, like even crossing the ocean is sort of forbidden to sannyasi, but then Srila Prabhupada did that. Uh, then that is based on time, place, circumstance, and it was also his order of his own Guru Maharaj that he has to preach in Western country, and they were also
Yeah.
so clear in this line that I heard in one of the lecture that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, he used to tell his disciple that go to overseas or foreign countries and preach, and for that, if there is a dire situation that you have to compromise and non-vegetarian. But if that is for preaching, go and do that. If you have to break Ekadashi to do book distribution, do that. But like they are so clear in their priorities. However, of course, we have to be very thoughtful and use that wisely. So this was very clear.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then
So that's why
yeah.
the whatever Prabhupada achieved at such advanced age in such short period of time, and the what he accomplished is really miracle, and that's why Prabhupada has to be a Shakti Avesh avatar, you know, empowered incarnation. Krishna had empowered him to preach Krishna consciousness, you know. And the amazing to me, Prabhupada was good in everything, writing books, preaching, cooking also. In
Yes,
all
when
fields. He trained his
that's
disciples in all fields, everything, you know. It's just amazing. Even cooking, Prabhupada taught.
પ્રભુજી even સાડી પહેરાવાનું બી શીખવાડ્યું છે બધાને માતાજીને.
Yeah, yes, I believe that. Yes, he was really amazing. So many
even
qualities
like
were there, which is very
you mentioned
rare.
of
You know, very
wisdom.
rare.
Yeah, you mentioned of wisdom as well. So that was
Yeah.
amazing to see that.
Oh,
That I think through the service it all automatically might be coming in.
yes. He was a pure devotee, an empowered devotee, Shakti Avesh avatar, you know. Otherwise, no one can achieve that. Humanly impossible.
Yes, sir.
So प्रभुजी we are
So-
so fortunate. We are so blessed and fortunate कि हम इसमें है साथ में.
Yes, and remember, we are in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is also incredible fortune we have in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's line, who is Supreme Lord himself, and the great six Goswamis of Vrindavan, his direct disciples. See, we are so fortunate in so many ways, and the scriptures, that is scriptural foundation, the six Goswamis gave, they were originally trained by the Lord himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they give scriptural foundation, and that all this thing we are doing, this scriptures so logically explain everything. That is what I am really amazed, how logically all the philosophy is there, not just imagined kind of things, in so many ways we ought to be very, very grateful, to being in this line of disciplic succession.
Yeah, Prabhuji,
Prabhu,
just
one-
to interrupt your word, you say that philosophical, it connects to the Srimad Bhagavatam also, which is widely accepted.
Yeah,
all the philosophies,
exactly.
It connects with that.
Yeah.
It's not in isolation also.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji,
So now,
you mentioned of the two questions that this Prabhuji asked, like what are the material qualities of Kanishta and Madhyamadikari or something like that, right? And then
yeah, the Kanishthadikaris
the
are on the material
responder,
plane. That's called the prakrita, because they even they do the deity seva, but in this chapter it is mentioned that is exactly not really they do it properly, actually, in the sense, and they don't respect, honor the devotees of the Lord, other senior devotees. They only worship the Supreme Lord, and that too also on a material platform with the expectation of some personal benefits. That's why it's the Madhyavati, and that's why they are not pure devotees. But nonetheless, they are just like already getting a visa, all year to take a flight to come to this other countries, So they've got the visa to become a pure devotee. That way, that's what Babaji is mentioning that here. They are
yes,
at
yes.
the door of
But
the
Prabhuji, my
devotional service.
question is slightly different. There were two questions which that Babaji chose not to answer to, right? You mentioned.
The second question, the second
So will
question is
that
a
be
point
covered
Babaji
later? Or,
declined.
yeah.
What is the activities of materialistic person?
Yeah, Babaji declined. This is not an appropriate question. It says that here. Yeah, Babaji is saying here the question is not what the person should or should not do. Question is only how one. Is it I'm reading the proper thing or not? Question 2 here. Just to give me 1 minute, okay? Question 2 here. Nityananda Das, this is on page 131, from Baragachi asked, what are the material activities of these devotees who you have described? So Haridas Babaji replied, son, if you ask this question of me, then I cannot give a good explanation. I am an old man, my memory is short, my mind is not powerful, I easily forget. Babaji is evading that question, and then the next page, Haridas Babaji was very strict. Babaji, no fault could ever be seen in him. He was too humble to say like that. Still, when this inappropriate question was asked, he gave this reply. When they heard his words, everyone was stunned. So this is was question deemed inappropriate.
Okay, thank you. That's clear now.
So see, when the three classes of devotees, the question was, what are the material activities of these devotees? These are devotees. So it is inappropriate to consider what are their material activities. That is what the point, as I understood. The Kanishadikaris, they are on the material platform. That's why they are called Prakrita devotees. But when he asked the question on a general basis, when Babaji described all three classes of devotees, then it would be no offense. Like considering intermediate devotees or Uttamadhikari and what are the material activities, then it would be no offense. So in that regard, I see an inappropriateness of this particular question. Putting all these three classes of devotees and saying that what are their material activities, and that's very offensive, So that is the way I interpret. Now let's hear from Sharad Prabhuji. Haribol, Sharad Prabhuji, are you there? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. We were talking about how Krishna looks after us for anything and everything. Actually, he is making preparations how our desires can be fulfilled. But he gives us when it is appropriate for us, when it is beneficial for us, and when the time has come, not before the time. In this connection, I want to tell you a small story. Recently, I heard from one of the recordings of Hanuman Prasad Poddar-ji, who is also known as Bhaiji. Actually, you must be knowing him from Gita Press. And the other day I told you he was such an exalted personality that even Narada, Angira, the Chatuskumaras, they used to come to give him audience. This is the level. And even Srila Prabhupada used to go to him for publication of his books in the initial stages and also for his guidance. We will cover his life story also in the series of biographies. But I'll tell you the story he was telling. I heard just yesterday how the Lord looks after us. Now, Hanuman Prasad Poddar, he was from Calcutta. So he was telling this story about one person who was a doctor in Calcutta. What happened? This doctor's mother became extremely ill and she was in the deathbed. She was about to die one night. It was midnight. And at that time, when the doctor saw his mother in this last stage, he asked him, Mother, what would you like to have? Do you have your any wish? You want to have something? She said, I want to have anjeer. Now, he says, I am talking of this story is around the time of independence of India, say about 1945 or 47, something like this, of that time. And at that time in Calcutta, anjeer was not available at all. And it was past 12 o'clock midnight. And anjeer is available where at that time? It was available in Bombay. And Bombay was not connected to Calcutta by air also at that time. And it was connected by train. And it used to take 4 days to come by train. Now this is what is the scene. Now then what happens? Suddenly one person comes, knocks at the door of the doctor. The doctor said, angrily, he said, my mother is unwell. I am not going to see any patient. You go to any other doctor. Now this person says, no, I have not come in connection with a patient. So-and-so person, he has come from Bombay and tomorrow early morning, 6 o'clock, he is leaving for Rangoon and he has got a basket for you and I have come to deliver that to you. Then he delivered, and this doctor, when he opened that basket, he found anjeer in that. Now, one may think how these things are happening. These are not by accident. Now, the doctor's mother, she wanted to have anjeer 4 days later, and the doctor, he was feeling very unhappy that he could not provide him. But the Lord had prepared the scene before. He had dispatched the things 4 days earlier. And that's how it could reach in time. That's why we should have our faith on the Lord. Whatever we say eat or whatever we use, everything is being provided by the Lord. If he does not want, will not have them. And many a times, even if you want a thing, the Lord will not give you, because he knows that that is not going to be beneficial, that may be harmful to us. But we do not like that, and we say the Lord is not merciful to us. This is one thing. Another thing I want to tell you, we are talking of the mercy and non-violence. If you study Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 7th canto, there is a verse which says that in that Prahlad Maharaj is saying, "O Lord Narsingadev, please cease your anger, because my father is already dead and he was a demon. He has been killed now. And since even saintly persons take pleasure in killing of a scorpion or a snake, what he is saying, that even saintly persons, the sannyasis, the great personalities, they do not grieve when a snake or a scorpion is being killed. And because of this, you have killed the demon that is known as Hiranyakasipu. Therefore, please, please cease your anger." And why actually this is being said? You may say this contradicts our teaching or our learning, that one should be very merciful to everybody. Now, what is being meant by Prahlad Maharaj is that a scorpion or a snake, they are without any reason, they are going to bite somebody, and somebody will die because of that. And if such a person who is like a scorpion or a snake, if he is killed, one should not grieve. That means this is to have mercy on the scorpion and the snake only, and nothing else. This has to be understood in this context. It is not that you should start killing a scorpion and snakes everywhere you find. No, that is not the meaning. The meaning is like this. And great personalities, when they hear about this, they don't grieve. They actually may be blessing such scorpions and snakes, because otherwise they will be afflicted by the aparadha. And the other thing, actually, the time is up. Therefore, I will end here. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. So before closing, I just figured it out. That slide, the patience is repeated in both classes because there's a printing error in the book. So by process of elimination, the 4 qualities that benefits others, instead of patience, you should see as forgiveness. Obviously, you should be able to forgive others, no matter how tragic it's there. So that I will correct it in my slide. This is a clear printing error in the book. So by process of elimination, I figured it out. It should be should be forgiveness. Okay. So thank you very much, Sharad Prabhuji. I'm going to request Sagar Prabhu to conclude the class. Haribol. Is Sagar Prabhu there?
Prabhuji is not there.
He had
Okay.
to leave early today and yesterday.
Okay,
so he
all right.
said that,
Okay.
yeah.
So perhaps some of you might do that.
Prabhuji, may I do?
Yeah, please.
Hare Krishna. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladadayine. Praladadayine. Hiranyakashipurbakshah. Hiranyakashipurbakshah. Shilatankanakalaye. Shilatankanakalaye. ito narsimha parato narsimha ito narsimha parato narsimha yato yato yami tato narsimha yato yato yami tato narsimha Hari narsimha hridaye narsimha Hari narsimha hridaye narsimha Narasimhamadin Sharanam Prapatye Narasimhamadin Sharanam Prapatye Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakham Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Tavakara Kamalavare Nakham Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jayo Narsimhadev 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 Jaya Narsimhadev Jai Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Jaya Gurudev 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you very much, Samata Mataji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All glory to Srila Prabhupada, all glory to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glory to the six Goswamis of Vrindavan, all glory to all of you Vaishnavas, Hari Bol. So I look forward to see you all back again next weekend, and we will do lesson 13. So the remaining question number 3 to all the way to 34, question number 34, and the answers to that. So until then, I wish you all wonderful, blissful week ahead of you. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you very
Krishna.
much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you, Sarat Prabhuji.
Pranam Prabhuji. Vaishnavi Namo Namo. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sharad Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Haribol. Hare Krishna.